I really truly love the Law Guardian agency. I mean, it's, like I said, there are so many wonderful people. I've had amazing trial team partners over the years. I mean, really, my trial team partners are just such wonderful people.
Wouldn't you love a backstage pass to candid discussions at the crossroads of motherhood, justice, community, entrepreneurship, mentoring, and success? Host Melissa Rosenblum is one of only a few women certified by the Supreme Court of New Jersey as a criminal trial attorney. When you add kids, a booming law business, and a little black book full of subject matter experts, you've got the Mighty MERP podcast. And part 2 in this series.
Where did you go to law school?
I went to New England School of Law, which is now New England Law in Boston. I always wanted to live in Boston, so I was like, if I get into a law school in Boston, and whichever is the least expensive law school I get into, that's where I'm going. And that's what I did.
Did you like law school?
I did like it, but I would say I certainly enjoyed undergrad more. Law school, there's just a different level of seriousness and a lot of work. And I met some really amazing people and had a really, really great group of friends. So I was very lucky.
And did you go straight from law school to working for the division?
Oh, no. I actually clerked for a year after that, which was great. So I clerked in Burlington County for Judge Hogan doing civil. And we were the backup chancery, so it gave me a lot of opportunity to see different types of cases and be in the courtroom and really observe a lot. I highly recommend that to anybody who is thinking about going to law school. That should be like step 1 when you graduate, like clerk.
I did not clerk. I went straight to the Philly Public Defender's Office, but I also highly recommend it. And everyone I know that clerked was like, that was my favorite year of being a lawyer.
Well, you have more set hours. You're really behind the scenes. You're learning what happens at the courthouse. So it's really invaluable. Then after that, I worked at a firm. And I did employment and family law, and that's where I learned about Law Guardian, and why I was there. I was just like, this is my calling. This is what I have to do. And I actually called the Law Guardian office, I think, every 2 weeks until they agreed to interview me.
Wow.
Because I was like, I want this job so bad.
That's amazing, though. I mean, that's like perseverance and persistence and like being very goal-oriented at that point.
Yeah, it was the first time that I had really went, this is what I'm meant to do. And, this is just the right fit of like all these experiences through the years of like volunteering with the Big Brother, Big Sister program, or volunteering at like an infant maternity like program and home, and like all these different things just kind of along the way, and people I had met when I was younger, and just everything put together. And I went, oh my God, this is for me.
When you were at the law firm, that was the family. It was family, and what was the other?
Employment.
What were you doing there?
Mainly employment, but a little bit of family as well. And more traditional family law, divorce and custody, and a lot of employment as well. I was only there for a short time because really I learned about Law Guardian, and it was nothing about the firm as to why I couldn't stay. I was just like, this is where I'm meant to go.
And so how many every 2 weeks did it take?
It took a couple months. And I went in for my first round of interviews, and it went well. And then, I did all my follow-up, and then they asked me to do another round of interviews. And then they hired me at that point in time, the public defender's office, Law Guardian office had a lot of restrictions for their hiring, and it was, and so they weren't hiring full-time staff members. They were hiring per diem attorneys, so contract attorneys, but on a full-time kind of basis. So I left a firm to work per diem for them, and I did that for 2.5 years before I became staff.
Wow.
Yeah. I had...
That's a commitment.
It is, and my caseload was just as high as all the staff members. It it was a pretty high caseload when I started, but
Right. But it's a labor of love because you're not getting the benefits of your per diem, right?
no health insurance, no. And it wasn't, there was no marketplace for health insurance like there is now. So yeah, it was, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
So you worked there. What county were you in? Were you in Burlington as well?
No, I was assigned to Gloucester County. So I started off where I was doing east and west side of Gloucester County, then all west side of Gloucester County, then all the east side of Gloucester County. And I would say majority of the time I stayed on the east side of Gloucester County throughout my career there.
And the whole time you were there, you were a law guardian?
Yes.
13 years?
Yeah, slightly over 13 years, yeah.
Okay. And did you still love it at the end?
It's interesting. People ask me this so often, and I did. I think it really came as a true shock to everybody I worked with that I left because I love that agency. I love the work they do. I love the commitment. I loved my coworkers. I liked the judges I appeared before, the caseworkers, for the most part, were like their hearts were in the right place. Just everybody was doing work that they really felt invested in, the parents' attorneys, the attorneys for the state. It's just everybody was really trying to do their best to really help a family. And I know not everybody views it that way. And there's a lot of people that really do not, that's not their viewpoint about DCPP, but,
Well, as someone who represents parents, not always, I don't represent them in that court. I represent them in other avenues that they find it difficult to have what they feel is the government in their family, right? Would that be a fair way of saying it?
It is. I mean, there's the government, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's red tape. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of things that are very, very frustrating and very challenging. But at the same time, boots on ground people recognize all those challenges. The boots on ground people are not the ones that are creating the policies and making all of the decisions. They're trying to make, help out as much as they can, on the ground. And, just like with any job, not everyone's going to be perfect at it. And so you're going to get, a couple people that maybe are not meant to be there, but the majority are there for the right reasons and are trying their best.
Right. So why'd you decide that it was time to open up your own business and kind of switch gears as a law guardian to, helping families in a different way at this point?
It was kind of a combination of so many things. So to start with, I just always wanted to have my own business one day. And so this was one of those moments of time where I was like, kind of feel like if I don't do it now, I probably won't do it. And I just saw that there was a need for the type of work that I'm doing. So it would happen at least once a week where I would have a conversation with somebody who would be begging me to give them some legal advice as to what should I do? Do I want kinship legal guardianship? Do I want adoption? How do I finish the licensing process? Should I supervise? Should I, be, allowing extra visits on the side? Should we be doing more phone calls? What do I do, basically?
So you were consulting without getting paid for it in some ways.
Actually, no, I wasn't, because ethically, I was not allowed to give any of these people advice. And so I constantly was just saying, I'm sorry, I can't give you legal advice. And then turning to my client being like, well, we can talk about whatever you want, but I can't give advice that, I had one client, my client is the child. My client is not the person taking care of them. And so ethically, I was bound to that. And I just, my heart just would break sometimes because there were times where people were literally crying or just calling me at, all different times. And I just really wanted to help them because I knew that to help them was to really help, more children. But, I just, you have a client and you have an ethical obligation. You know that, of course, as an attorney. And, especially practicing some juvenile work, I'm sure there's plenty of times where the parents want to be in on every conversation, making all the decisions. And, you have to say, you're not my client,
I do have to say that. I also have to explain that with my juvenile clients, they get to make the decisions when it comes to, the biggest part of the case, which is whether we're going to resolve it in some sort of plea negotiation or whether we're going to take the case to trial. And I always say to the parents, you can give input, you can help, talk it through with them. But in the end, it's always going to be my client's decision, which is the juvenile. And I said, as a parent, I know it's like it goes against like what you would think is, they can't sign a contract. There's so many things they can't do. But in court, they get to make the decisions.
Right. And as far as what children used to say to me is, I want to go home to my parents. Most kids want to be reunified. And so even though you feel like that's not, what's in their best interest, in their heart, that's what they feel like is in their best interest. And so that would be my argument in court. And, I would try to put caveats to make it maybe a safer environment, Maybe my client was okay with being supervised, but they just want to be home. Or maybe they were okay with a service in place, like, a handful of hours a week or family therapy. But they want to be home. And so that might be my argument. And then other times, if a child says, I want to be adopted, and and then the parents, of course, are like, what? By somebody else? No, So, there's a lot of really hard decisions and a lot of really tough conversations that I've had over the years with a lot of really intelligent children, though.
Okay. So when you opened up your own firm, it sounds like you were ready to go. Like you gave notice and you were ready. Did you have someone cheering you on, or did you just know it was the right time? Where'd you get I'm going to say courage? Because I didn't really have it. And I always love to find out how other people had it or how they knew they had it.
I think you have to trust your instincts, but I think you have to dig deep maybe to find the courage that you don't know if it's really there or not, and trust the process of life. I have a friend who's always saying that to me. She's like, just trust the process of life. And so I just feel like, I had to trust that I was making the right decision. And my husband agreed that this would be an okay moment in time for us to do this, and of course I was making that decision, not just by myself, but with him to make sure it's the best for us. I would say, I had a lot of support as far as doing it, but I also, I ended up taking a class actually. And up until the moment I resigned, I wasn't even like 100% sure if I was going to definitely follow through with resigning, because I really, truly love the Law Guardian agency. I mean, it's, like I said, there are so many wonderful people. I've had amazing trial team partners over the years. I mean, really, my trial team partners are just such wonderful people. And so I was like, I don't know. My trial team partner was like, what? You didn't even tell me. But I was like, I literally thought about making this decision, then was like, okay, I'm going to do it today. Okay, maybe I'll do it like in a couple days. Okay, I'm going to do it today. Okay, no, so I mean, I wanted to do it. It was hard. And I did take a class, like I said, about opening my own law firm.
That's what I was going to say, ask you about. What class did you take? Because I want to know what it was about opening up your own law firm, or what was the name of the class? Where was the class?
So, well, it was a virtual class. The person that ran it, the instructor's name is Kaylee Jacome. She's amazing. And she started her own practice, and then also started this business of teaching other people how to open their own practice. And so a lot of it is, she would assign us like homework, and it was 2 nights a week. And one night was teaching session and one night was a coaching session. And in that class, I met someone named Asha Palos who practices in New York. She is my accountability partner. And honestly, I don't know if I could be successful without her. She's, I feel like she's like my rock right now. And so every week we do a check-in with each other. How's your week going? What are the things we're going to work on?
That's
bounce
great.
Ideas off of each other.
Does
And
she
so
do
it's
the
great.
same type of law or different type of
No,
law?
totally different type of law. She does elder law. So we come from very different backgrounds, but, they complement each other. And it's, running a firm when you've never run a firm before is, a challenge, right? So,
we're going to talk about the challenges, but I love the fact that you have a friend that's an accountability partner that you opened up at the same time. I have friends that are my running accountability partners. I do have an attorney who has been in practice for private practice a little bit longer, but otherwise, I should say, I was in private practice longer, but she opened up her own business first, and then I opened up mine later. And we always check in with each other. And in addition to having conversations about the law and about what's going on in court, we have conversations about, sort of marketing, pricing, bookkeeping, programs that work for the law office and the type of law that we do. And it's really so nice sometimes just to be able to call somebody and not have to edit yourself, or, you're able to share the stresses that you're going through. And I'm going to add that I love that it's a woman, because I feel like, I have another woman cheering me on and me cheering her on. And we do the same exact type of law in the same area of law, like in the same, Atlantic County, Cumberland, Cape May area. And it's great to have that. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. I do think it's nice because it's such a male-dominated field. Well, for you especially, doing criminal law, but really a lot of firm owners are men, and there's not as many women who are running their own firms. And so it's nice to have somebody that's really going through the motions, and it sounds like you have that person too. And
kind of in the same place, professionally, personally, so that we kind of understand all the nuances.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned. There is more to come. Mighty MERP is available on iTunes, Spotify, and all your favorite apps and players. But the best way to experience the show is to visit mightymerp.com. That's mightymerp.com.